Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. My name is Evan and this is Sense or Sense. And today I'm going to bring you yet another DoorDash issue that I've had. I think, guys, I'm going to have to give up on the Chase DoorDash credit. I've just had too many problems over the last several months. I had another video talking about how I couldn't get the $10 Chase credit for quite some time to work on my phone. It would only work on the actual website, when you logged in through your desktop computer, and then it was quite a process to go through. In fact, I had to contact DoorDash and get them to credit me one time as well. So this time is a little different, but it goes par for the course with DoorDash. DoorDash has been giving me problems one thing or another for several months now, and it seems like when Chase started turning these $10 credits on, the problems just got even worse. So what I did was recently in the last week, I did another Aldi order. That's my go-to store nearby. I usually can add about $75 worth of groceries, which isn't difficult for my family of 3 here in Dallas. Groceries have gotten a lot more expensive, so $75 is easy to get. And then what you do is you apply the $10 Chase credit, and if you have any additional DoorDash credits, that will be applied as well. And if you're a Dash Pass member, like I am with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, then you get free delivery and no cost delivery as well, as far as like no service fees at the actual store via DoorDash. So that's if you spend over $60 net after the coupons. Now that's important. It has to be net after the coupons. I found that out the hard way, and the other DoorDash video talks about that in the specifics on how to avoid possibly getting your $10 credit clawed back. So what I'll tell you is make sure that you spend at least around $75 or more, then you can get your $10 Chase credit. And then even if 1 or 2 items is missing or you decide to get a refund, then you're not going to drop below that $60. If you drop below the $60, you will get hit with that service fee, even though your original order was well over the $60. So I did everything. I had about, $75 to $80 worth of groceries in my cart, got my $10 credit, got my Dash Pass credits so that I wasn't paying any additional fees, gave a tip to the driver. Everything was going well. The driver went to the store, did everything, got everything. I requested the receipt to be put into the bag just so I could kind of have a comparison on how much DoorDash is charging these days versus what they actually are paying at the store. The shopper's paying for at the store. I've noticed it's usually between 10 and 20% markup on products, but with that $10 discount as well as no delivery fee, for me it's worth it. I basically give the $10 up for the additional cost to have it delivered to my house for free at the same cost that it would cost me to go and shop it myself. So it's worth it for me most of the time. But I think after this trip and what I'm about ready to describe, I'm not going to go down that path very much anymore, if not at all. So what I found was when the receipt arrived, it showed 3 cents in taxes. And my final bill from DoorDash showed an approximate tax of like 10 cents or something like that. And I said, okay, I'm not willing to, that's not a big deal. But once the order arrived and they sent me the final bill, that showed the weight adjusted items, since I ordered some produce and some fruit, they showed everything, finalized. DoorDash had gone back in there and they added $5 in the tax field. And I don't know what this was regarding. I found it very mysterious and it was weird. It never showed up on my initial purchase. It never showed up on the store receipt. It never showed up when the shopper dropped off the products. It was added after the fact. After the products had been dropped off and the delivery was complete, DoorDash went in there and manually added $5 into the tax field. And so I contacted DoorDash and I had quite a conversation with them. At first, the rep was trying to tell me that, oh no, that's basically they didn't have an explanation for it. They were trying to tell me that I had a couple items substituted And that was the additional cost for the substitutions. And I said, that's absolutely not true, because the substitutions, I had 3 substitutions and they netted out a negative 30 cents, not any positive cost additional to my order. And so then they went back and they said, oh, you had taxes charged on this, and this is the taxes. And I said, no, I have the actual receipt. And I took a picture of it and sent it to them. Then they backtracked and they said, oh, well, there's a problem. Sometimes this happens where we overcharge on the taxes. We apologize. And they still weren't willing to give me the refund at that point. I just don't get what they were trying to accomplish with this line of reasoning, but they weren't going to give me my money back. I finally just said, this is wrong. You guys can't be just adding additional fees in the tax section and calling it a day and then trying to stick me with the extra $5. And the guy finally relented after about a 20-minute conversation via chat and gave me a $5 DoorDash credit. And I said, no, that's not acceptable. I want a refund to my credit card for the difference in the taxes. So $5 minus 3 cents actually charged, $4.97. And he had to go back and talk to a supervisor about this. It was a total disaster. This whole process took over a half hour just to get my $4.97 back. And then they clawed back the $5 credit at first. And then I said, absolutely not. My time is worth something. So they relented and gave me the $5 DoorDash credit. So basically, I wasted a half hour of my time for $5. Not worth it, guys. I found that, the Chase $10 credit wasn't working a few months ago. Then it was working, but I had problems with, the net spend at the store not being enough, even though it said that it was credited correctly. After the fact, they hit me with a service fee because they said the net was what was important, and therefore the $10 credit was completely negated out, and they wouldn't give me a refund. They wouldn't give me any kind of explanation as to how their internal system worked differently than the final bill. So that was kind of strike 1 and 2. And then strike 3 was this whole tax thing. And I can't, for the life of me, figure out why they would just tack on this extra amount. And, it wasn't until I proved up with the receipt and I proved up with what the original order was before the final tally that they agreed to give me that discount. So, I was lucky that I asked the DoorDasher to actually bring me the physical receipt from the store, because a lot of the time they won't do that. And then, DoorDash can claim, oh, no, you actually had $5 in taxes on that. And, in Texas here, we don't have tax on most food items. Just, like on certain items, we have taxes, but on most items we do not. That's why I only had 3 cents in tax on my entire order. I couldn't even tell you what was actually taxed on my order, to be honest with you. But at any rate, I've read online that DoorDash is facing multiple lawsuits in states that have no sales tax. And they've been charging sales tax to some customers in those states for quite some time. There's actually several class action lawsuits in Oregon and Connecticut, New Hampshire and Washington State that don't have sales tax. And so this has been something that's been an issue with DoorDash for quite some time. Guys, buyer beware, caveat emptor, be careful with DoorDash. There's all kinds of Reddit posts. There's all kinds of posts out there saying that they've tried to hit people with additional fees all the time, and they hide them in ways, and sometimes in the tax field, sometimes in the fees, and they just hit you with all kinds of stuff, and then their customer service is terrible. It's overseas. It's via chat. It's almost like a bot for the first part, and then they find a supervisor, which isn't actually a real human, and then they finally start to get something taken care of. But it's going to take you 20 to 30 minutes to get anything taken care of. So please, guys, I don't think the $10 credit's worth it. Maybe if you're in a pinch and you need a delivery because you can't get to the store, maybe if you're willing to put up with it. But I think I'm done with the DoorDash credit with Chase, which is unfortunate because it was a pretty good part of the annual fee that I was counting on not having to pay. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, this is Sense or Sense. My name is Evan. And thank you guys for pushing me up close to the 350 subscriber mark. I appreciate all of you. Until next time, bye.